Today we were gonna talk about dating younger Indonesian women versus older Indonesian women. We're gonna talk about the pros and cons because you maybe ask yourself this question, right? Should I date a younger one or an older one? What is young, what is old? What are the trade-offs, So that's the topic of today's video. Of course, everybody, including me and you, we have all different reasons for dating, and especially when it comes to dating Indonesian women, I believe you have thought about it. You will have your own personal reasons why you now consider Indonesian for dating. You have certainly different motivations. You have a different background. Maybe you are divorced, coming from America or from Germany. Yeah, you have also different requirements. So your background will determine also, of course, your choices and your preferences, right? And of course, it will help a great deal if you know what you want. I think this is the basic here when it comes to dating either younger or older Indonesian women, because there are consequences, because if you don't know, if you haven't figured it out yet, what you really want based on your needs, wants and desires, then it can have dire consequences later. Yeah. So maybe you are a guy who wants a hot chick with no kids, and she just needs to be attractive, and this is all what counts for you, like a trophy girlfriend or something like that, or you want a more mature woman already, who doesn't want babies anymore and is a person who has a greater life experience already, a person also you can have great conversation with, because you are a guy who needs conversation from time to time, right? So you see the spectrum is kind of wide here. But for the sake of this video, I will stick with two categories here. I will have the younger Indonesian girls, the younger Indonesian women, in the category of between 20 and 30 years old, and then the older women we put into the 30 and up, 30 years and up. And I will go through these two categories today with the pros and cons and everything. So before I do that, I want to share with you my experience real quick. So I have mainly dated, met, and was in relationships with Indonesian women who were actually all in their 20s. Early 20s, mid 20s, and late 20s. That has certainly to do with my preference, and I want to be honest with this. I'm going to share this in a minute here. But when I started dating Indonesian women about almost now 20 years ago, 17 years ago, I was in my late 20s. So obviously, I think I was 28 at the time when I lived in Hong Kong. Obviously, when you're 28, you're not interested to date 30-year-old, let's say 35 or 38-year-old women or 45-year-old women, right? So I naturally was inclined to, and I was interested to date women at least in my age or a few years younger. And at the time, the Indonesian girls I dated and met and had a relationship with, there was only one. They were all in their mid-20s, so the age gap was not really large. But later, when I was in my 30s and now I'm in my 40s, I'm still preferring girls in their 20s. Somehow, I just want to be honest. My current girlfriend from Yogyakarta is 28 years old, so you see we have an age gap of 19 years. And why is that? Why do I prefer these younger women? Definitely it is the physiques, the looks. I want to have an attractive girl. This is one of my main reason. But of course, there is more to it, but I just want to be honest here. I think most of the men are attracted to good looking women. This is just how nature plays out. But of course there is more to consider. I know that, you know. For example, what is in 10 years when my girlfriend or maybe future wife is then 38 years old, or in 20 years when she is 48? Am I still attracted to her? You see, you know. So looks, just to focus on the looks in the long term, of course, will not gonna cut it. And maybe, and it's true, a lot of foreign men, expats, you know, and especially in the Philippines and also in Thailand, and you have the same dynamics also in Indonesia, they prefer way younger women. That must be for a very good reason or reasons. We don't know. Maybe also status plays a role, you know. A 50-year-old white expat, let's say, coming from the States or from Europe, you know, is divorced, was disappointed, had bad experiences. So he needs to kind of also, he wants to collect success experiences again. And then, you know, in his home country, he could never hook up with younger women. So these kind of things also play a role. There are many factors who are intertwined and affecting each other. But with me, definitely, also the looks play a role. And therefore, I believe I mainly have been focusing on these girls in their 20s. But also when we look at nature, right, we all know that men in general look for younger women, and women actually look for older men, you know. So this is the natural tendency, right? Either the age gap is just 3, 4, 5 years, or it's 10 or 15 years, you know. Men seem to have no problem to date and to get together with younger women or way younger women. And the opposite is true with women, especially in Southeast Asia. You know, a 20-year-old Indonesian woman or a 25-year-old Indonesian woman or my 28-year-old Indonesian girlfriend has no issues with me, with her. She has no issues being together with me. You know, I'm 47 years old. I'm getting confused here. I'm getting old, you know. But in Germany, you know, as a 47-year-old man, what are the chances for me hooking up with a 28-year-old girl, right? And so some moralizers will now ask the question, so why are you interested in these younger chicks anyway? What is it? I just try to explain it here, you know? Yeah, anyway, the typical age gap in Indonesia, I noticed over the many years of living there and also dating and having relationships and also watching my colleagues and friends, is typically between 10 and 15 years between a Western man and an Indonesian woman. 10 to 15 years is the normal age gap. It's a little bit narrower than in the Philippines. You know, in the Philippines or even in Thailand, you can find, you know what I'm talking about. You can see couples who are like, the girl is 20, the guy is 60, you know, so yeah, very, very large age gaps. But in Indonesia, this is not the case so much. And before I go into the pros and cons here of dating younger or older Indonesian women, I think also a big part plays the religion in Indonesia. Yeah, for the women, this will be very important. That needs somehow to be compatible. You guys need to be compatible. Doesn't matter you're young or old or whatever. The religion plays a huge role, especially for the Muslim women. And I know, and some of you know that Western guys, and I know them personally, Western guys who got married to Muslim Indonesian girls, they had to convert, the guys had to convert to Islam, at least on paper. This is all doable in Indonesia, it's not a big deal. I will not go into this today. If you have questions, you can ask me, I can do a separate video on it. So let's go into the pros of dating 20 to 30-year-old Indonesian women. What are the advantages? Of course, the biggest advantage is they are very attractive. They are pretty. That's I think for many men, the main factor, and it will remain their main factor, at least in the beginning. So, of course, they have more energy, they are more bubbly, they are more enthusiastic. I'm talking in general here, okay? I'm not, of course, you have a spectrum of introvert girls and outgoing girls and something in between, but in general, these girls are very attractive. They have more energy, they are more bubbly, they are more enthusiastic, they are more active, of course, more spontaneous, and they also have a higher sexual energy. Their sexual energy is stronger. They want kids, so if you are someone who also wants to start a family, that's a great thing, because Indonesian women are family oriented. So younger women want kids, they want to start their own family. These younger girls also, they might have more time on their hand, and less responsibilities. Although I know, and that's a little bit different to the Philippines, that Indonesian women in general, they want to work. And they most of them have a job. I'm not saying that Filipinas don't want to work, don't get me wrong. It was maybe a little bit maybe I put it a little bit in the wrong connection here, but it is just my experience that most of the Indonesian girls, they want to work and they have jobs, so they will be quite occupied with their stuff. So all these things I mentioned here, pretty attractive, especially the sexual energy and the being enthusiastic and stuff like that. Most of these items here, they also can be actually a liability. Yeah, if you are an older guy, then maybe some of these things are a liability, and so they are not a pro, they're actually a con, and I will go into this a little bit later into more detail. Another thing is also an advantage, a pro when you date 20 to 30 years old girls, is that you can, depending on your age, is that you can be a mentor to her, and that's actually a very good thing, You can teach her, you can share your life experience, you can really make her become a better person. This is big, this is huge, this is something also to consider. Now let's talk about the cons, the disadvantages of dating, meeting, being in a relationship with a 20 to 30-year-old Indonesian girl. Of course, these younger girls are more immature. They are maybe more emotional, but who is not emotional, and who is not immature? We all are more or less still immature. Even me, I'm learning every day. I'm not claiming that I am super mature and grown up. I do many stupid things. At least I think them. I'm just honest. And but of course, these younger girls tend to be more immature than women who are 15 to 20 years older. Okay, and these younger girls, they don't have their emotions so much under control. They are childish, more childish than older Indonesian women. Although in general, I would say even Indonesian women are in general more childish than Western women. Guys who are married to Indonesian women or dated them, you know what I'm talking about. But this is a general in Southeast Asia the case, that the women are very childish. These younger girls have less life experience, but that's not their own fault. This is just how it is, And one other con of dating these younger women is their sexual energy. So this is actually a liability, and I know what I'm talking about. I remember about 17 years ago when I had my first Indonesian girlfriend. I can tell you it's true. She I don't know whether she was addicted to sex or something like that, but she wanted to have sex pretty often. Several times a day, and I know some of the guys maybe say, that's what I want, that's what I'm looking for. I can tell you, when you are together with a woman who constantly wants sex, I tell you, it's not fun anymore after a certain time. And later, about 10 years later, when I was in a serious relationship with an Indonesian woman, it was a similar dynamic, but I was older already. I was like 41 already. She was 26. And of course, you know, young women, they want sex. And Indonesian women, they like sex, they love sex. Also, these are human beings. They are women like any other women. They have desires, they have needs, and they want their needs met. Yeah, and and I talked about this in other videos. Indonesian women are great in the bedroom. You know, this is just my experience. They're not shy at all. So this is something to look forward to. But also my girlfriend at the time, she wanted to have sex a lot of times, and actually it's a good thing, you know. But me, you know, I was not so much high energy anymore, and I just got on my nerves, you know. So I was a little bit tired, and you know, that can create some conflict and frustration also, you know, like in any other relationship. So I just want to let you know. So this is something, if you are an older guy already, this might be a disadvantage, a con. Also, again, I mentioned the mentor dynamic already. It's actually an advantage if you are older, 10, 15, 20 years older than your Indonesian girl. You can teach her a lot of things, you know, which is good. But maybe you are a guy who don't want to teach at all. Maybe you just want to keep everything to yourself, because then you can control her better. Maybe you are a manipulator, you know. I hope not. But then, you know, there is no reason to do that, right? Then also another con is different interests, right? The younger girls, especially in the big cities, maybe you're dating in Jakarta, you know, these women want to go to a club or to a disco, you know, stuff like that, and you are not interested in that anymore. You're not into it anymore, because you've done all that, you know. You were a party animal 10, 15, 20 years before, but now you just want to stay at home, you know, watch some movies, or I don't know, have great conversation, but she wants to go out, you know. So this also can create conflict. And let's say you are a guy who is in for great conversations, you know, you're more an intellectual type of a guy who reads a lot of books like me, and who has the desire to talk about things, you know, philosophy, psychology, the economy, history, geopolitics even, you know. Good luck with finding a woman who wants to talk about that stuff, especially younger women. It's not on their radar. Now these days anyway not, you know, with all the social media. What's in their minds mostly is TikTok and Instagram, right? Yeah, another con is also if she wants kids and you don't, right? Again, so yeah, you have to think and figure out for yourself if a younger woman is really the best thing for you. Now let's talk about the older Indonesian women, 30 years and up. The advantages of dating them, meeting them, or being in a relationship with them is definitely that they are more mature, they are more experienced, they have more life experience, of course, by nature. They have seen things, you know, they traveled maybe abroad already to different countries, or they even worked in foreign countries already. So these women automatically will have broadened their horizon. They have seen different cultures and people and stuff like that. They learned their lessons, so to speak. They figured things out, yeah, and they are not so naive anymore like these younger girls, you know. And they might have kids already also, yeah, which are already almost grown up, you know, teenage kids, and they're most likely they are financially more stable, these women. They have a job, maybe they're safe, have been saving already or even investing. So they are most likely financially more stable, more savvy, and financially more independent. But in general, these older women, and this is a big advantage also, they are more confident and also more independently thinking. Although for some men that is a big liability, because they don't want independently thinking women and confident women. They want women with trauma and self-esteem issues in order to control and to manage them and to manipulate them, unfortunately. So this category here of these older women 30 years and up in Indonesia, there's also one other dynamic at play, which is that these women, when they reach the age of 30, they will feel the pressure by society and also family and friends, colleagues maybe even, if they are still single, they will receive these questions. Hey, when do you get married? Where is your boyfriend? Where is your future husband? So these women, they might be even more eager to get into a relationship. So they are more desperate. And then you also have, in this category, 30 years and up, you have a lot of, not a lot, but you find also divorced women in this category and even widowed women, okay? So this is my experience. They get married in their 20s, mid-20s, roughly in Indonesia, that's the age of getting married, mid-20s, sometimes late 20s, and then you get married, and then after a few years things don't work out, maybe domestic abuse is a reason, and then these women get divorced. I have friends in Indonesia, women who got divorced from their husband because it didn't work out. They are now married to a Western guy. So these are the pros of dating older Indonesian women. What are the cons? Yeah, for some men it might be her physiques, she is maybe not so attractive anymore, whatever that means, Perhaps her body is not so much in a good shape. I mean, everybody has different tastes and preferences, but if you really want to have a super slim, sexy girl, then maybe a woman who is over 30 is not so slim anymore, because especially when she has raised already a couple of kids, right? Or maybe she is even a little bit chubby, and if you don't like that, then yeah. If she has kids, that might be a baggage for some guys, because they say, no, I don't want to deal with kids at all. Maybe this woman cannot have babies anymore because she reached the she's over 40 or she's mid 40s, so she cannot have babies anymore. And you want to have babies, and she cannot have babies, so that's a con, right? And again, I mentioned this already, for some men, it's also a con not to date, or a reason not to date these older women, because they are more independent. They went through some shit in their life already, maybe a divorce or domestic abuse or whatever, and or maybe they even worked abroad, overseas, in Hong Kong or the Middle East, and when you know how these women over there are being treated, actually you don't want to know, but I know it's really bad in many cases. So, but these women, in one way or the other, they will come out of this situation stronger, and they learned how to fight for themselves, they learned how to take care of themselves without many friends surrounding them, but they learned how to manage their resources properly, So these women are very, very independently thinking and acting, and their self-esteem is significant, and they are way more confident than younger women. So for guys who don't like these women, that's a disadvantage, Because these guys, they are looking, as I say, for women who they can manipulate, or playing the savior, but they need a low self-esteem woman with no money, so they can so that this guy can play their savior, Prince Charming role, you know, in order to feel great, to pump up the ego. This scenario, this dynamic would make them feel more important and competent, you know. You see, there are many psychological issues actually at play, and these guys should go to a psychologist or go to therapy or look into the mirror or I don't know what. But it's definitely not healthy if you require a woman who is who you can downgrade and degrade. You know, if you need that for your psychological health, then I'm sorry. You need to fix this urgently. And yes, these older women also might have time constraints because they have kids to take care of. They're still raising children. That means you are most likely not the center of their attention. And some guys also cannot handle that, okay? And so you have to see, you have to look. And again, if you are a guy who is full of sexual energy, these older women might not so much interested in sex anymore, you know, just naturally their sexual energy level is lower. So that's maybe a disadvantage then for you. So to conclude this video, after presenting here my pros and cons, certainly there are other pros and cons. Looking forward to your comments and suggestions. But yeah, I think it boils down to that we and you really need to think very hard about your pros and cons. And it's very important to figure out what you really want, what you need, what are your desires, what are your preferences, what are your requirements. It's really like almost like in investing, you make a list, assets on the left side, liabilities on the right side, and you write down in your asset column all the pros, all the good things, and then in the liability column you write all the bad things, the negative things, you know. What is good with a young girl, what is not so good, what is good with an older woman. You know, so you really have to write everything down, assets and liabilities, because some of their circumstantial facts might be liabilities to you. So this is what I suggest, to write it all down and to come to a conclusion, to a bottom line, like in investing. You know, you subtract your liabilities from your assets, and then, so you know what I mean. Because there will be trade-offs in any case. There are trade-offs, but that's not a crime. That's all good. The important thing is actually only to, after this whole exercise, thinking hard, you know, contemplating this whole thing, not only in 5 minutes, to really think it through, but to come to a conclusion for yourself, what might be the best outcome overall if you collected all the different datas and all the different ideas and put it all together. You know, what fits your wants, needs, desires and requirements best? What is it? And the last thing I want to mention is, especially for guys like me, 47 years old, you know, we are getting older, you know, and soon I will be 57 or maybe 67. Who is going to take care of you in old age, you know? I think this is also something we have to consider if you're not married yet, right? So I don't think if you are, let's say, 65 years old or 70 years old, you will be not so strong like I am now anymore. I'm aware of that, you know, I'm realistic. But who's gonna take care of you? Do you prefer a hot chick who only is playing Instagram and TikTok all day long? Or do you want a more mature, maybe not so good looking woman around you, but who really takes care of you, right? So there you see, this is also something to consider. So we have to really think strategically here when it comes to weighing these pros and cons, you know. No, I want a young, attractive chick and I don't care about the rest. This is really short-term thinking. This is this is just maybe even impulse thinking, you know. And there's no delay of gratification, nothing. So this is just a quick fix, would be a quick fix, this quick fix mindset, right? So with that being said, checking out for today. Thanks for watching, and I'm looking forward to your comments, and let's see what you have to say. And then I'm gonna see you in one of my next videos. Take care, bye bye.